Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching this video from, when. And my name is Denise Belil, and I'm a serenity expert in positive intelligence, and I own Denise Belil in Motion Coaching. We're here today for the It's All Go, look, it's all good. Look who's here for a chat. And I have two wonderful guests today. They are Karen. Yes, two Karens. And one of them is Karen Collacutt. I should have asked her how to say that. Collacutt. And the other one is Karen Kessler, and they're business coach. And we're going to be talking about navigating change. Navigating change is only confusing when you don't have a roadmap. It's like going anywhere, setting up goals. If you don't have goals, you don't know where you're going. So I look forward to having them on the show in a few minutes so that they can talk about how to create that map and now for you to be able to handle change better. Before we get there, let's talk about why I call this show It's All Good. Well, first of all, because I love saying it's all good. Because in life, I feel personally, and I've learned, it's things that I was not always thinking this way, but I've learned over time that there's no point, first of all, worrying about what happened yesterday or having resentment or anger or feeling guilty about things that happened in the past, because why? I can't change it. As much as I would love to be able to go change a few things from my past, I can't. Even when I close my eyes real hard and I say, let's go change it, it doesn't happen. So whenever things happen, even 5 seconds ago, if something happened 5 seconds ago, it's okay to have a warning and say, hey, I'm upset. And then say, okay, take a deep breath and it's all good. I can't change it. Now, how can I move forward with what just happened, regardless of what that is? There's always more solution than problems. So let's just look for those solutions. And when we think about the future, when we think about, oh, what's happening tomorrow? I'm so worrying about this. I have anxiety about whatever's coming up forward. But when you live like that, then you're not living in the today. So the best way to change that is to say, it's all good. Whatever happened. I'll be able to handle it and have that positive thinking and mentality so that you know that the future will be beautiful. And one more reason, it's my favorite cup. It's all good. So I love that cup. I think if I ever break it, I'll have to glue it, with gold line and all that. So like the Japanese structure bowls or whatever, because it just represents who I am, and I love orange too. So without any further delay, first of all, before we go, if you're watching this, please comment. If you watch that on replay, just do a replay. I'm glad to be here. And if you're watching that on YouTube, please like and subscribe on my channel so that you're being warned every time I have another video loaded up. So now we'll call them KC and KK because that's how they identify themselves, because Karen and Karen, they both turn around. So here they are, KC and KK. KC and KK. Yeah, here they are. Here we are. Hey,
here we are.
Hi, Denise.
So how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate an opportunity to come and chat.
Oh, it's so my pleasure. Like we had KK here a few months ago, and the plan was to have you both right away, but schedule didn't work out. But then I had the opportunity to discover KK. And for those that are watching, if you want to know, if you like what you're saying today and you want to know more, go on my YouTube channel. It's Denise Belil, and you will find KK's video with me, and you'll have more of her. But I think we'll have a really good time today with the two of you. And I'll let you girls introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you got to start working together. And then we'll go into the depth of the subject of today, navigating change.
Why don't you take that, Casey?
Sure. I'll start. I'm Karen Collacutt. We live in Ontario, north of Toronto. Karen and I have trained, worked, done all kinds of things together, including writing a book. We're very good friends, and we really love the opportunity to share the things that we think are really interesting and that we contemplate. One of the things, sort of a little bit of background about me, I've done a lot of coaching, training, facilitating, and helping people create transformation in their world in a lot of different ways. And when we decided to write the book together, which I'm sure we'll talk about, it was because we saw this one piece that we really wanted to talk about, and it ended up being a really important conversation that we turned into a great book.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And what's your background? What led you to do what you're doing now?
Sure. I was actually a financial planner, and I had all these clients who were making great money and living paycheck to paycheck. And I sold my practice and started money coaching. And I wanted to be able to help people create the life that they wanted, the prosperity that they wanted, the environment that they wanted for themselves. And what I found was, like most things, most money problems have nothing to do with money. It's what's going on up in here. And I went looking for more help, more training, and found Karen. And that's how we got connected. Karen's an NLP trainer. I am now as well, because she pulled me into the world of NLP. But she was my trainer. That's how we started. And then we became such good friends. So I added those coaching skills, and really sort of NLP is about understanding how we work as humans. And it gave me the tools to be able to help my clients understand what was going on for them. And then over time, I've done coaching, really sort of all kinds of transformational coaching. Money is just one of those places where I've got some deep expertise.
Fantastic. So, KK, how about you? Tell us a little bit about you, and maybe explain for those that don't know, what is NLP as you do that?
Oh, absolutely. So I have a varied history. I'm sort of like on my 5th career. And the cool thing is that everything about what I've done in the past all applies here. I really like to be sort of in the moment, to be able to pull everything that I know together and provide value in that moment. It probably gives me my biggest high. And I have the cool title of universal translator. I seem to have this ability to help my clients translate between what's going on inside of them, so they understand it, so they can speak to themselves. Also, be able to take complex topics and make them easy for people to understand, which is really helpful during the book and when I train. And yeah, I just love what we're doing right now. Casey and I, as long as we've been working together, which is, I think, just over 3 years together, as opposed to working side by side, we're actually working together in business. It's been amazing to watch how each of our strengths and weaknesses come together in a beautiful way. And that's created a whole other level of personal awareness for ourselves. And so we get a lot out of that every day. And we did meet around the topic of NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which has a very old history. It started in the 70s and was really around people trying to understand, how do you break down excellence and reproduce it, right? With a lot of focus on communication, the linguistic part of it, how we speak to ourselves, how language from the outside impacts us, or when we speak, how it impacts somebody else. And we come from a slice of that field that is about leadership and coaching. How do you use it for transformation? And that was the most beautiful thing. Like, I totally lucked into that part of the field, and so glad that I did, because it suits me so well. And I am just a big geek about it, and I continue to learn and explore, and like to look at other trainers and other people, and what are they writing about, what are they doing, and what more can be said about what we're doing, and how much more accessible can we make it. And I think that was the thing that made me most excited about the book, that we could help people understand about themselves. When you understand, and I know you get this, Denise, it's about not remedial change, but generative, right? You're not broken. You're working perfectly. You just don't like the outcome. So how do we change the system that is you, that is working perfectly, into a way that generates a different outcome?
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to achieve with the book, to help people understand oh, I'm not broken. I just needed more data. I just needed a map. And now I'm good. Now I'm good.
And here comes the subject, like navigating change.
Like that segue? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's awesome. No wonder she's a good writer. So how do people can, like, initially, how do people, like I say, yeah, it's nice to say get a map, but I imagine that initially they need to know what they want. Look, so how would you handle, first of all, like someone that says, well, I know I need to make some change, but I don't know what I want. So how would you deal with that?
I would say that normally what happens is change does happen, either because we did decide that there was something that we wanted, but maybe didn't give ourselves permission to get. And so
Mm-hmm.
life shifts around us, or we actually did decide to move forward. Because there's this long sort of normal period that we can be in. But as we get closer and closer to change, we start to get more frustrated and grumbly about it. And then when change actually happens, we experience it either as, hey, I want that thing, I'm going to consciously make the change and go after it. Or we have the impression, and I say that on purpose, the impression that the world has changed around us, like someone has pulled the rug out from underneath us.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, the change process is now in action. And some people are happy about that, and some people are not so happy about that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that sometimes that's the point where people start to do goal setting, not realizing that they already decided what they wanted.
They already decide what?
They already decided what they wanted, or at the
What they
very least
wanted.
decided what they didn't want anymore.
Yeah, like a lot of people decide what they don't want, but they
Yeah.
don't always know what they want, right?
Right. And so once the world
Like, I
starts,
don't want to be broke. I don't want
Right.
to have debts. I don't want to, So how do
right.
you help them switch from I don't want to I want to?
It's a really good question. I think I have to start. Casey, do you agree? I think we need to start with the actual map.
Yeah. Yeah, because
That's the
the
decision point on the map. I've got a
yeah,
book right there. Page. Go ahead.
okay. There's I thought you had the map.
I
There's
do.
different stages inside of the process, and here's the map, and you can, as people are going through a change, they have an awareness. So, I'm just looking. Okay, so I'm laughing at the way you're holding it, Karen. It's good. I can just because I can't see you. There we go.
Okay.
That's better. Now I can see you too. Here, do the
I'll do the thing.
you
The
do
So
the
this
Princess
thing.
is
Bride
You
model,
can
right?
Vanna and
yeah,
explain at the
okay.
same
It's easier
time.
if I can actually point to it.
Yeah,
So
I'm like I'm
this is
trying to point, but you can't see my finger.
there you go. So this is the normal. This is where your neurology, like who you are, all your habits, all your knowledge, everything, you nailed it. You know so much about what's going on in your life. In fact, you can start to roll your eyes, 3 minutes before something happens because you can see it coming. And so it doesn't matter what happens, you've got it. But this is the point where we call B. So this is between A and B. And B is the moment that actually changes. When you become aware that things have changed in your world. And you've either noticed D and said, oh, I want that. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but
Okay.
oh, I want that. Or you've let things go so far that the world changed around you anyway because of all the stuff you didn't want anymore. So one of those two things happen. And then we move into this B to C, and it's like a slide. It's very, very slippery. And this is what we call our resistance pattern when we're going, no, I didn't mean it. Because this is gone. This now no longer exists for us. We can never get back to it. This moment has made us more than we ever were. And so you can never fit back into the normal box again. All you can do is choose to create a new normal, right? But people can spend their whole life in this resistance pattern.
And this is where you get trying to get back. This is I don't want to be broke. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's all of the, I want to try and get back to where I was, where it was comfortable, even though it was uncomfortable.
Yeah. And a lot of people reach out for coaching if they've been here for too long. They've been working on it. They've tried everything. They've been putting money towards it. They've downloaded all the YouTube videos. Like they've done it all and they're still not getting anywhere, but they don't realize they're still trying to get back to here and doing the things that used to work. Right. So it's an authentic thing. What happens in C, and the only way to move through it, C, is a decision that I would rather have the unknown of this and the work of this than to stay here any longer. The pain of this is now, it's now greater than the pain of the thing that I'm just imagining, the pain that I'm hallucinating. And this is the point where people decide they're worth it. This is the point now we can do some forward goal setting. Now we can decide where do we want to go from here. And this whole process requires new skills, new values, new beliefs, new strategies and habits. It's all the becoming that we talk about of a new person.
Mm.
The thing is, you are now going to go through the 4 stages of competence again, which means you can expect it to be awkward. You can expect to not know what you're doing. You can expect to have your confidence shaken. You can expect to really need a coach or someone who's done this path before. And one of the reasons that we use the albatross, Alex the albatross, as our metaphor is because as the largest bird on the planet that still flies, with a 12-foot wingspan, 6-foot body, is very, very awkward getting off the ground, off the beach, right? It looks like that when you're getting off the ground. Exactly, right?
Yeah,
Right. So we teach people to expect to be awkward. We celebrate awkwardness because that means you're doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing something new, then you must be heading in the right direction, right?
Yeah.
And then what we teach people is how to do self-management, how to go through that, so that what you've got is what the albatross does, is this dynamic soaring that happens. Once they get into the air, they can spend the whole year flying over the ocean and never need land, right? They don't even need an updraft. They have a way of flying that when they start to slow down, they dive. And it almost seems like they're going backwards. They're gaining speed so they can come back around again and gain their speed and altitude. And then they just do this. And this is where we can get, as we get closer and closer to the top, you start to gain momentum and speed. And as you go back and forth through here, it's what we call you're suddenly graceful, because you now have all the new beliefs you've had. You've shed the old ones that don't serve you anymore. You get new ways of doing things, new skills, new resources, new people around you. And then once you get up here, you're back to feeling like your neurology matches your environment again. And now it's like, I've got this. And to other people, it looks like it's so easy, but you remember the path that it took you to get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I can see, that's great explanation, by the way. I think that's like, and within that, I imagine even as you climb up, there's ups and downs within it. It looks straight up, but I'm sure it's not straight up. That's why you have that little thing. It's like, you're going to go down a little bit, you're going to go back up, you're going to go down a little bit, because change is I love what you said, the fact that change is not easy. And change, if it was easy, everybody would do it, right? Like if it was easy, like I just had a meeting this morning with someone, and that's what came out too, right? It was like, hey, if it was easy, everybody would do it, or you would have done it a long time ago. And the fact that it's not easy, it's because it challenged you to climb up, right? Like going up.
It actually challenges you to unveil more of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We actually have to become that person. We believe we already have it all in us, but in order to get to that next level, that next new normal, we have to peel away the stuff that's in our way. Mm-hmm. And that's that dynamic soaring. And yes, sometimes it feels like you're going backwards. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck. But as long as you're continuing to move forward towards that new vision, you're moving along that dynamic soaring pathway. And yes, the original change process map has this lovely straight line, which is not at all how it works.
Yeah, there's ups and downs for sure, because and sometimes we get lucky, we get a big up, and then it's like, whoa, and it's shaky. But I think the key to that is not to look at the top and say it's way too far, right? So how do you help your clients to stay focused on where they are right now? So what's your strategy for that?
We have 3 great techniques in the book, and there's lots, but we have 3 that we think is the most important 3. One of them is the ability to get into the present. Because often what's happening when we're sort of, our confidence is a little shaky, we're doing something new, we're feeling really awkward. Not that long ago, we were nailing it, right? And now we're a beginner again. And we call it the wooden box exercise. And what it does is, so it's like, we've also recorded it as a meditation, or people can just do it themselves. But it just allows us to take everything, all the whatabouts and the this and that and everything we're feeling, and put it all into one place. And there are 400 ways to do this. We just created one so that somebody had a place to start. But when you can put everything in this special wooden treasure box and just know that it'll be safe for later, but for right now, I can just get present with myself right now and find out from me what I need to know about this, right? Ask myself a question or whatever I need and get really present. It's a lot easier to then build on the second skill set, which is around discernment. During change, it can be really easy to confuse what's my monkey mind getting in my way and my ego having a freak out, my intuition that's actually guiding me to what I either need to do or stay away from, and also the actual physiological responses of fight or flight because I'm doing something brand new. Is it adrenaline that's going on? Is it monkey mind, or is my intuition going, hey, whoa, no, stop? Right. And so we need to build discernment. So one of the exercises helps us build discernment. We call it the map me exercise. What do you currently understand about the sensations in your body? And is that current understanding serving you or not serving you? And how do you want to change it? So that we can start using the data that's in our body. Casey, you're so good at it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And the third tool is really helping people move out of isolation and into resourcing, and to help them actually build a team awesome. And in our reader resources, we actually have a whole mini training on how to build a team awesome, a group of people around you that are heart partners, resource partners, and can really help you to enrich your own capacity and stay out of isolation. This is one of the biggest challenges, is when we are struggling, we have a tendency to isolate, and then we actually have no way, we have no mirror to reflect what's going on for us. We need to be with community and people who can support us and help ask the hard questions, or give us a hug, or give us a kick in the butt, whatever it is that we need, that's going to actually allow us to continue to focus on where we want to go and to continue to move up that growth pattern in towards our new normal.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot because I work a lot with mental fitness and mental health, and when people are in depression or feeling that, not well, and they feel like, oh, nobody will understand me, I can't talk to anyone, nobody cares. The fact of feeling, that you're all alone, regardless of where your problems are, if it's financial problem or nobody can understand my situation, then of course you're going to go even further down, because you feel so isolated. And reaching out, and it needs a lot of self-love to say, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to ask for help. And I admire people that do that, because it's a big act of courage, and the fact that people can say that. So don't be afraid, people, like, ask for help. There are people out there, even if you say, oh, I can't afford help. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like us, that would give you one session, to help you out and give you a boost and orient you in different areas that can support you, right? Like that.
Absolutely.
There's so much out there that we can send you in a way that will help you and support you. There's a lot of support group out there.
Oh, so much. You're so right, Denise. Like, I mean, it's great to have a coach that has that expertise in whatever your change is, because you can move a lot faster when you've got someone who's already been there and gets it. But one of the things that KC taught me along the way that has been the most helpful for me is it's okay for me to tell people what I need from them. And sometimes it's just like to say to my husband, I need you to tell me how awesome I am right now, because I need to hear it. Right? He doesn't have to understand what I'm going through, but I can actually teach him how to help me, even if he doesn't understand what I'm going through, right?
And for those that say, well, that's so selfish. No, it's not selfish. It's self-love, right? It's being able to
give me a hug, whatever I need, right?
And in fact, he feels great because now he knows how to be helpful.
Yeah. It's like when you have a need, like if you're dirty, well, you need a shower. It's not selfish to have a shower. It's self-love, because you don't want to be dirty, right? It's the same of asking other people to support you and help you. I really like that. And so let's step back a little bit, because I want to talk about people that are in the top, in the middle, right? Okay, my life is good, da da da, but maybe I could do some other things, and talk about that B event there. So what will cause someone to really go into the B and then can't go back? So,
Right.
all of a sudden, so what would cause that trigger? What is that trigger that people can look for and wanted to maybe create in their life, because they are like, oh yeah, well, because often it's like, I'm going with the flow, no, nothing changed, it's
Yeah.
all the same. You see people 10 years on the road, like, yeah, I still work at Walmart, and whatever I'm renting, and so
I
what
think,
what
yeah, it's a
creates
good
that change?
question, Denise. There's, and I'll take a crack at it, and then I'll let you, Karen, because I know we both will have stuff to add to this.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, like for me, when I was doing the money coaching, and I was like, I was doing a great job. My people were having good experiences, and what I was finding was it was starting to feel crunchy for me. I was feeling like, although I knew I could offer good support, I knew that there were questions I was supposed to ask, but I didn't know what to do with the answers. I ended up with this great client who was super well aware, like really personally aware. And I knew that most of their money problems had nothing to do with money. And so I started kind of poking at this stuff. And fortunately, they were very gracious, because I actually didn't know what to do with the answers. And that caused me to go looking for help. And I knew, so that was my B. I was like, oh, there's this thing that I don't have that I need. There's this set of skills that I need to figure out. And so for me, it was this awareness of, oh, it's that awareness of D, right? The point up here. I was like, oh, I need that. How do I get there? And so I went looking for it. And so my curve was relatively short because it was right here in my face.
Yeah.
And for some people, they can be in that kind of discomfort place for a while before it starts to feel like the walls are closing in a little and you're like standing like this, right? So that's one way that it happens. Karen, why don't you talk about the others?
Yeah, there are sometimes that people think they're at between A and B, and they've actually already gone past B.
Yeah.
And so the discomfort and the frustration they're feeling in their world is actually them being in resistance of, and they're
There's a
holding on to
slippery
normal.
slope.
Oh, they're
Slippery
holding on to
slope
normal
between.
so hard, right? They're like, nothing's going on, and they're ignoring the fact that nothing's isn't the same, and it can't be the same. Because sometimes there's just a moment in a life where things just feel like they just suddenly cracked open, almost like a Christmas cracker. Like you pop it, you hear the pop, but you can never put that back, right? Like it's once it's cracked open. And so sometimes that happens to us, and sometimes we can't always tell the moment, or we know the moment, but we're ignoring it. So that's the first thing I always look for when somebody has been in a stagnant place and refusing change. Did change already happen for them and they're just in resistance to it? Because it can be scary, right? Especially depending on what we say to ourselves. How kind are we to ourselves? How much personal confidence do we have? What kind of model of the world did we pick up from our family along the way? Do we actually believe we could be more than what we have been? And so people sometimes don't even notice that they could go do something else or don't feel like they have permission. So if someone knows that they're really good and things are fine and they're just starting to get a little frustrated with the monotony, then I believe they're actually still in normal. And then what I would do is go to start play. Go talk to people and interviewing them or doing other things. Pay attention to anything that catches your attention. Just start saying things like, I wonder what my next adventure is going to be. I wonder what I'm going to be when I grow up. I wonder what, right? And that's always me. I never know. Almost like every 7 years, it's like there's another something. And so I'm just open and for things to continue to grow and change. And when you hang out with other people that do make change and feel positive about change, then it's not so scary because you're watching other people go through change and you're watching their attitudes and you can pick up some of their beliefs when you hang out with them about that. And you start to believe, you know what, if they did it, I can do that too.
Wonderful. So that could be, yeah, I love that. like whether you're already in the slippery slope and then you're backpedaling because you're like, oh my goodness, this is so slippery here, I don't want to fall further down rock bottom, right? It's like, oh my goodness. Or you just have an epiphany and you say, hey, I need to know this because I'm right there and I know this is possible, so how do I get there? So there's different ways that could happen, so I think that's pretty cool.
And when there's that frustration, right? When you're you're like, I've been working on this, I've been trying to do this, and so on. There'll be this sort of line in the sand where you're like, okay, enough. I'm only willing to move forward here. I don't want it to be like this anymore. I'm not willing to do that anymore. And for most people, they're aware of this time where they just put their foot down and they said, that's it. And then they shift their focus towards what they really truly want. And that's when they start the growth process. That's that pointy bit at sea. And they look away from where they've been and they're like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm focused on where I want to go and I'm okay with it being awkward. And they start those steps. And it's like Alex trying to get off of the beach and looking so awkward, and it feels awkward because it's all new. And that's a great time to connect in with somebody else who's followed that path again, whether it's a coach or a mentor or a colleague.
Great. That's awesome. So now I'm curious because you're both now certified in NLP, neuro linguistic programming. So how do you integrate NLP into working into those changes, into using those tools to assist people to climb up and eventually reach their first goal? Because I'm sure once you're there, it's like, hey, that's awesome, I love being there. You're there for a while and say, hey, I know I can do even better,
Do it
right?
again.
Without being an hyperachiever, which we call in positive intelligence, but just to know that, okay, my goal is, let's say, $5,000 a month, and then after then you get to your $5,000 a month and you're comfortable and you're doing well, and say, hey, what if I was to double that,
Right.
and then but then you need to and then go back up. But how do you use NLP in order for people to work through that? So how does that work?
When people come through, we have a navigate your change process. It's 9 weeks that people can come through and sort of really get to know their own change process and who they are and build the skills. And often what happens during that process, they're like, okay, I want to go faster. How do I go faster? And that's when we recommend the reset and redirect. It is basically, we need to throw off the shackles of the old, figure out exactly where we're going, and then put everything in place in order to get there at its highest level. And so we use a wide range of techniques without needing to dive into any content, so we can work with people even if they've had trauma, because we don't have to go there. We really want to pull out the programming that sort of kept us stuck, that kept us in the resistance pattern for so long, to make it easier so people feel lighter while they're flying, so they can stay in dynamic soaring. So there's a number of those techniques. And then when we're actually working on the goal, we're using everything that someone has. We call it an internal representation, but it's basically the movie we play in our head of what we want. We want to make sure that how we talk about it, how we feel about it, what we see, what we hear, what we feel is all positive and exactly and clean about what we want. Because that's our instruction to our unconscious mind and our body that that's what we want. Like, for instance, the trickiest thing about, and you don't need to be trained in NLP, and most people have heard this, right? Your unconscious mind cannot actually process a negative except in a two-step process, right? So on the way home this morning from breakfast, I saw a sign that said, don't forget something. Well, you're installing in the person who's driving by in trance in a car to forget it, right? So we want to, often when people go to set goals, they set what they don't not want. Right. And the language is all off. And so we help them make sure that they've really nailed that. And they've got such a vivid picture of their proof of the moment that they've achieved it, that it's so clear that they'll achieve it out of their awareness. Right. We want to set them up that the programming and the communication linguistics that they're giving themselves is so powerful, they'll feel themselves being propelled along. And then,
Ah,
yeah, and so we help install that for them so they've got it. And then we're looking to close the gap to make sure that all the other programming, all the other stuff that's motivating them, all the stuff that happens out of their awareness is all aligned for what they want, so that they can just go live their life and pay attention and use their discernment and use the
mhm.
tools we give them to keep themselves on track, that they're reaching out, they've got the right people around them, they've got everything that they need. And it's a powerful process that creates a lot of self-awareness. There's a lot of self-forgiveness that starts happening, right? We pick up things along the way that used to serve us that don't anymore. And
Yeah.
we're creating a new normal. As Karen said, we're revealing more of who we truly are. And so we want to peel that back. There's one technique that we do that very specifically allows us to remove the greatest unmet need we have as a child that has become our most unrealistic expectation in our present. So it's an
Powerful.
unrealistic expectation to everybody else, but we think it's normal. We think it's okay for us to expect that, but it sets us up for failure over and over and over again. And when we can get that, we can just sort that, like just pull it out, everybody goes, oh, that's easier.
Mm.
Right? Because we're not trying to force things around us anymore. But it was a legitimate need as a child.
Yeah.
That isn't
Yeah.
as an adult. We don't need that anymore. So we use some of these, and there are deep linguistic techniques that impact our neurology.
Mm. So what it is really to, and that's what it is, neuro-linguistic programming. The
Exactly.
programming is key there, right?
Yes.
Is how do we reprogram our way of talking and talking to ourselves, thinking, so that it will create the effect that we want to have in our lives,
That's
right?
Right. So that we're so aligned with what we want that it just starts to happen.
Yeah.
We take the actions that are in front of us. We keep noticing things we never noticed before. It really just becomes fun to change.
Because if you tell someone, don't think about a pink elephant, what do? You think about a pink elephant,
You have
right?
to think about it first and then change the color or change the animal. It's a two-step
Yeah,
process, right?
yeah. But if you say, remember the red door, then you'll think red door. Yeah, red door. Next time you see a red door, so yeah, I had to remember the red door.
That's right. There's that red door.
I remember that video. They say, oh yeah, that's a red door.
Yep.
One of the things that I love about NLP is when I really got to understand it, that there's nothing in NLP that isn't just an explanation of how we already work.
Yeah.
It's about how we natively work inside of ourselves. It's about humanity, right? There's no technique that didn't come from someplace else, right? They just looked for the things that were already going on in the world of psychology and behavioral psychology and cognitive and brought it all together, because these are the things that help us understand ourselves and allow us to create the excellence we're looking for. So we're not doing anything that we don't normally already do. We just now have a way of talking about it and the way to make changes for ourselves.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of I guess NLP technique and positive intelligence where I work with, right? Because it's all about changing the way you see your world, reprogramming your brain towards when there's a problem, instead of saying, oh my God, I'm gonna die, you say it's all good. And then you say, okay, what am I learning from that? What is good into that situation? Explore, what can I do different? Instead of looking at all the bad thing, look at the positive and look at the possibilities and look at, what's ahead of you. And if you don't see the gift right away, it's because you're here to learn something, and just appreciate the gift of learning something, right? Like, it's all about changing the mindset and changing the way, and that's what you do too, right? Changing the way you see situation. It's
Exactly.
totally interrelated, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you think that having a car accident, that's the end of your life, okay, but what have you learned from that car accident? And if you have, like, I had a car accident 2 years ago, and then I had a whiplash and a concussion, but what I learned from that is I didn't love the job that I had, and it allowed me to stop working there. And it allowed me to decide once and for all to move towards working with my coaching business, because I was in and out for the last 8 years, and I was just, I'm a coach, but I don't do that right now because, I always had excuses for not doing it.
So
And then
Denise, I just want to stop you because you've just gave an excellent example of what happens when you make a decision and don't act on it and stay in resistance.
okay,
Right?
that was
So
my slippery slope, right?
Yes.
you had decided you were going to be a coach, but you didn't act, so your body did. Right? And then bang, now
Yeah.
you're exactly where you needed to be, right? And that's
Yeah.
our bodies are amazing. We are little geniuses here, right? And it can become toxic for us to stay in situations, to stay in the resistance pattern. And so that was your rock bottom that allowed you to decide to start to move forward into the growth pattern. That was a beautiful example. I just wanted to lay it on top of the change process.
I'm perfect. You see, I'm a perfect example of A, B, it's boring,
Yeah.
it's comfortable. And then I want to be a coach. Okay, whew, slippery slope. Oh, no, it's too hard. Slippery slope. No, I can't do it. It's too hard. And then bang, okay, I'm doing it. And it's like, I'm not there yet. I don't feel like I'm at the top yet, but I'm working on it,
Right. But it's a whole process to continue to build and expand.
Absolutely.
And every experience we have
Absolutely.
allows us to go learn more, which means we can have bigger experiences, right? And our neurology just grows and grows and grows until suddenly we're like, oh, I think I made it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. Well, we could be here all day long. We've been talking for almost 45 minutes already.
Oh my goodness.
Time flies when you're having fun. It's such a great call. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
And,
we have fun every time we talk to you, Denise. Thanks so much.
Such a pleasure. So I know that there's a way to reach you. So there's an email. I'll share that in the chat or in the show note of the program, but it's welcome@simplikaren.ca.
Yep.
So because remember, don't forget, it's like, remember, they are Karen. So simplikaren.ca.
And you can find us at alexthealbatross.com.
Yes,
Alex the Albatross is the Albatross. And there's also a gift.
Yes, we have a course. Yep, a mini course. We called. Of course, it's going to drop out of my head.
But it's all about the change process.
It's all about the change process, and it's about how to soar more gracefully. It'll teach you a lot of the pieces that we've talked about today and give you more content.
Well, I'll have to do that course because it's nice to flew more gracefully, right? Who doesn't want that?
That's right.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to have you both. And stay there. I'll be right back with you, and I'll be back. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you got a lot of gem and understanding of how you can create greatness in your life and eliminated the negative. So instead of saying, I don't want to do this, say, I want to do this. I don't want to be poor. I want to be rich, right? So create what you want and think about what you want. And you can start to do some neuro-linguistic programming on your own. But I suggest that you go check the comment or the show notes and do that little course that will take you to the next step. And then if you want to work with Karen, just welcome at simplycarol.ca. Thank you for being there. I'll see you next week. And until then, be kind to one another. Goodbye.